and they want to fight for these opportunities to play up against big teams like this, and they're certainly not afraid of what these Bears can offer.
Very, very true. But we are heading into this matchup very shortly. We have, of course, Virtus Pro versus OG Seed. We have a lot to talk about when it comes to just how strong these teams are. Virtus Pro, they were one series off of qualifying for the mid-season finals. OG Seed, they didn't make it to playoffs. This is a redemption run for Seed and for Virtus Pro.
I think for Virtus Pro, the last time we did see Krakoa played in domination was a pretty swift loss against Na'Vi in the upper bracket final of groups. But they don't want to run into the same issue here. And whilst Mantis has been one of the main first bans that have come out for both sides, Jeff is starting to climb the ranks, and now it's pretty much all of the drafts that we've seen so far. And Ultron Protect on the side of OG Seed means that they can dedicate to that triple strategist if they want to. Virtus Pro making sure that Dreedro has access to that Lunar Snow.
Very interesting, prioritizing the Ultron over the Mantis. It's something that we're not seeing as much from a lot of these teams, and one-sided, even so, with the Ultron taken away. This does now mean that OG Seed can still ban out that Mantis and still keep some control of the board here in terms of triple strategist, but Adam could in that case slip through the cracks.
Oh, I understand as well why the Ultra might be in play, because you have got the likes of Frost Mountain that is a Storm. I don't even know, like a fan. It doesn't really cut the mustard. Yeah. Like this, I think this guy is Storm.
8 out of 9 games.
Yeah, it's played a lot. So having the Ultron to support it, we saw Moxie said it earlier of just like pairing it with the Torch and stuff is good. Also works very well with the Storm, which is what I imagine would work. But then would KQ be on another strategist, or are they trying to run just two of them?
I'd love to be able to tell you, but this is their first Ultron game. They have had it banned against them 9 out of 9 games so far. They have not been able to play Ultron at all. This is OG Seed's debut when it comes to the Android.
Oh, and there was a chance, I think, for Adam to be potentially through and available for Virtus Pro in the draft, but they wanted to go for the Invisible Woman instead. And they can make it one-sided if that protection isn't there. That has to be, I think, because, yeah, it seems that when you protect the Ultron and the Invisible Woman, you're funneling that support into something.
Yeah.
And is that going to be KQ or is that going to be Frost Mountain is the question.
We will have to see as we are heading on in. KQ is currently hovering as a Mr. Fantastic, but I am pressing X to doubt when it comes to that. Virtus Pro, though, they're continuing what they've been doing for a lot of this stage, starting us off quite aggressive. While I doubt we'll be seeing that Spider-Man making out a spawn, the Captain America and the Venom is something that Virtus Pro have been leaning quite heavily on. Out of the games they've played so far, which is 15 total, they have only had 1 Captain America game, but they've had 14 Venom games, playing it in all but 1 map.
Ooh, maybe. I don't know if OG Seed have been basically not sandbagging their games for playing the Storm so much because they wanted to hide like the Ultron for Frost Mountain.
Curious.
And then it sort of puts a little bit more like, because KQ, I think, out of the duelist has been the one that's made a really discernible difference to OG Seed's chances. And he was on that like original team back in stage 1 that ended up losing to like Schmungus and stuff like that. That had such a terrible like debut. It was literally the first game of Ignite stage 1 that we saw Schmungus going for the win. So you're welcome, Boga, for me mentioning that if you're watch partying. But it's like OG Seed from there of just 3 out of their 6 players were on that roster, and they've grown tremendously well, adding in some other great players in and around the scene. Right now, it does feel like, yeah, KQ has to do his best Tuesday impression over on the Star-Lord, and Frost Mountain's going to be on the Ultron instead of the Storm.
Triple strategist here, and once again another Cloak and Dagger, something else that we do see OG Seed leading a little bit towards. They have played 9 out of 9 games on Cloak and Dagger as well. It is one of the few characters they've played in literally every game.
Actually, the 4 games that they played, Ultron has been banned out against them, so yeah, it's just more of a priority and a focus. But now into the weeds of this fight, into the Gala of Krakoa, Right now, it is OGC that sort of made the most progression, but it's still neutral in who's got control of it thus far. It really feels like Virtus Pro in this 2-2-2 setup are more happy to just go for these like neutral engagements, farm up ultimates, and seeing who can get that Galactic Legend first, and if they can get there before the strategists get their support ults.
Positioning advantage right now for Virtus Pro. They hold the stairs, meaning getting reinforcements could get zoned off, and also there's less of an area to retreat as you can be grab Pinson in from the side. Sparker gets dropped a little bit low though. Sparker does fall, but as does Gainer, who's been attempting to harass on this Venom, but just gets a little bit too much damage. And now a huge choke point is allowing Fire to get so much value. But Frost Mountain on the flank is just getting targeted down. Is there enough healing for them? No, Dridro snipes them out the air.
And whilst that was going on, at least the rest of OGC were able to get a couple of picks, so it has worked out better into their favor, and they also gained control of the point. Despite the fact that Virtus Pro had it for 6%, it has switched over just off the back of Frost Mountain's Rage of Ultron.
Boo able to pull on in with the Psychic Spear, but Venom will swing away. Nevic's not going to get taken down as of yet, but bought a little bit of time for the rest of Virtus Pro to come back in and regroup. No compositional swaps yet, everything just sticking pretty much the same. Keeping the pressure on KQ, playing far forward, close to that wall, so it's harder to flank them. Here comes the Galactic Legend from Sparker into the sidelines, trying to keep the heating up, but Name with the Eternal Bond is making sure that they have a pathway to try and dive into Virtus Pro, taking the fight to them, but with Silent Seduction from Mabuhu, they are able to take out Cypher.
OGC, they're making a really good go of this. You've got Virtus Pro dedicating big ultimates, not having control of the point, so OGC, they're in control, and they've also managed to wipe out Virtus Pro off the back of the likes of Silent Seduction being used, Fate of Both Worlds, even the Galactic Legend from Sparker, and Virtus Pro found no value from it.
They can't seem to find an opening. OGC still hold this. We're at 60%. They have the Feast from the Abyss. While Cypher does have the Invisible Boundary, Nevix will soon have their own Feast from the Abyss. But the fact is, a lot of this percentage is now being picked up, and we're seeing why Ultron is being played so often. Even though OGC haven't shown it yet because it's been banned against them, we're starting to see why.
I mean, it was a common like second ban, I think, against the likes of OG Seed, so I guess it's more of them just putting priority to protect it first. So yeah, Frost Mountain's made this work so far. He had the Rage of Ultron, but just gets picked off from Spark. It's not done and dusted yet, but the Invisible Boundary is going to allow this to pretty much reach 99% against Virtus Pro. They're able to sort of take the point on 95, but still it feels like OG Seed one good fight win and you take the first point.
They keep the hold on the point here. Spark are able to force them back. Virtus Pro, they have banned Ultron in almost every game so far, but they've also yet to lose against it. And OGC are starting to maybe put a blemish on that perfect record. Virtus Pro keeping the pressure on, sieging it from down range on the point, but it's going to be a portal engage coming in from OGC as they move through as one.
Galactic Legend in the back pocket for Sparker. No need to use it out yet. I'm waiting for the Rage of Ultron. It might be a good response to that. Yeah, it's pretty much as soon as it was pulled out, there's going to be the response. And whilst OGC wanted to be a little bit more forward thinking with taking the point and fighting off that Rage of Ultron, they're going to be separated and forced back. Gainer went in for the dive, but gets caught out, tried to jump back to where he thought his team was, but that's exactly where he runs right into Spark. This is a good fight for Virtus Pro, and even though OGC, they're 95% on the objective, they might start to stress out a little bit more if they don't get this reset in cleanly.
In hovered on Strange, but decided against it, so they're not going in for a portal re-engage. They're just going to regroup and decide to take this and one more go. At 70%, Virtus Pro are more than prepared. Hang on, KQ waiting in spawn. In fact, they might be looking for a portal, as they are all waiting to group up together. But the question is, if they are, who's doing it? Or were they just making sure that no one on Virtus Pro could roam all the way from the point and try and take it out early?
I think they were just a little bit worried, especially now you're looking at the ult charge. You probably have an expectation that Virtus Pro has sat on quite a lot of ultimates to go into this potential final fight. Five from just distance is able to actually make this a very scary engagement. Abuhu has to basically scramble out to survive with the Eternal Bond, but Frost Mountain gets caught out in the backline from the Feast of the Abyss. This was before the fight felt like it started, Tetcher. Virtus Pro find the picks needed.
Some Inferno coming on out, takes out KQ on the backline, and Sparker is untouched here, just melting through. Frost Mountain's going to try and portal back in, but it's all up to Gainer right now to try and buy as much time as they can. Feast of the Abyss for every extra second on the board. Portal comes out, but the team team is incredibly staggered. OG will try and contest this though. Invisible boundary as they start to creep through one by one. Galactic Legend, if they can take some people out of the backline, they may be able to turn this, but completely countered by Invisible Boundary and Sparker to melt on through, and they just keep coming through the portal one by one, but reinforcements are cut off, and Virtus Pro take round one.
A little bit of a sloppy start from Virtus Pro, I think, with how they've approached the cradle part of Krakoa. But those final fights, very clean. I just felt that was OG Seeds to lose. I think that they set themselves up really nicely, but when you have them constantly resetting, Virtus Pro kept pushing into them. OG Seed weren't able to completely disengage, so it just kept wasting more time and allowing Virtus Pro to farm up 5 out of 6 of their ultimates in that final fight. And then you lose like 2 players before you're even ready to go in off the back of your own ultimates. Feels like that's just one that you might be looking back at if you do go to the losers bracket tomorrow for OG Seed. You're looking back at the VOD and thinking, we shouldn't be making mistakes like this.
100%. You need to be playing a little bit stronger than that. Obviously, there's only so much you can do. Sometimes you do just get diffed. But the fact is, that was OGC in control of a map, and they lost people when they maybe shouldn't have. Now, can they redeem themselves as they head into the gala itself? Let's see if Emma Frost's party decorations are more to OGC's liking.
The mise en scène might work a little bit more. Is Emma Frost available on both sides? As a reminder, it's a one-sided Ultron in favor of OG Seed, and then a one-sided Luna in favor of Virtus Pro. Pretty much is going to be the main different factors for how these teams have approached the draft, and the Silent Seduction is going to be the way that Virtus Pro want to start this off. It's a pick, at least for Sparker, that's been able to be a hunting dog off the back of where Virtus Pro wants him. It means that it's going to be a very clean first point take, unlike Cradle.
Gainer once again going down early. Nevix following it in quick succession. The Venoms, they're trying to make this happen, but again to the Emma Frosts, it's a little bit more difficult. You can get stunned out quite easily. Here comes the Rage of Ultron, burn it early. It's a very quick cooldown to really charge up. Trying to focus down onto Dridro, who uses the map heal, and the routine heal, forcing out the Fate of Both Worlds. That's a super worthy trade.
It was, and you had to worry about the health pack there and stuff too. But OG Seed, it's like, okay, now that you've forced out a big ultimate, are you able to have the follow-up? Well, you're going to use the Silent Seduction, and you've got Frost Mountain being able to actually get the pick in the end eventually onto Dridro. But you have to look at Sparker. He's 90% away having another Galactic Legend. We've seen a lot of saviors come through, but it's not even going to be needed, actually, as Nevix, it would have been Finzi, was able to find 2 picks to keep OG Seed reset, and they have to back out.
Finzi dominated that fight. Absolute control. OGC, they went in after burning that Fate of Both Worlds from Dridro, and while they were able to get Dridro in the end, they lost everyone because Lapsus, the only person close to a strategist ultimate, was taken out so early, meaning they just did not have the healing output. And look at this, OG Seed, Ultron has been sent to the scrap heap. They're going for a 2-2-2.
Just want to find a little bit more to actually break through the healing per second that Virtus Pro have been able to throw down. And it is just a 2-2-2 matchup. It's not as if it's triple strategists that have been out healed. It's just the position and the way that Virtus Pro are playing this one. Sparker is just going for the flank, waiting for a good opportunity to pull out the ultimate. There is going to be the invisible boundaries from Saipei first to allow them to set up and stand up. It's actually a complete free take of the point for OG Seed, though, which is kind of odd, but Virtus Pro are happy to back off.
They lost Finzi, they're going to back away. They're actually committed to this without Finzi. Galactic Legend trying to get onto Lapsus, who will use the terrain as an escape, but it opens up for Phi to take down Frost Mountain. Zyper takes out a Boo, and down a person. Virtus Pro once again choose when to take a fight, and they are coming out extremely on top here. Sparker is dropped low, will retreat, plays it safe, and Virtus Pro flip it back over, 90%, and OGC are forced to portal.
Ooh, it's tricky, actually. OGC did a good job there. Certainly Anami on the Cloak and Dagger being able to dodge the Endsong Inferno, baiting it out, had the Eternal Bond, but just gets focused down too much. The Portal play is the last chance being able to fight this. And some of these fights have been good for OGC, but it's just been too long. It's allowed Virtus Pro to come back into these fights as reinforcements. Side the Seduction, try to pull people away from the point, all into a line to allow the rest of Virtus Pro to get their teeth into this back line. Certainly with Nevix of the Feast of the Abyss able to find 2.
And this was more like what we expected from Virtus Pro as they clean out the remaining members of OG Seed, and they take map number 1, taking Krakoa. very nicely done. This puts Virtus Pro at 4-1 on Krakoa. They got very happy with that map draw.
Yeah, the domination game mode has not been their best, to say the very least. Some teams really like to take them here to try and punish them. But against the likes of OG Seed, you said they're sort of like as expected. That to me insinuates that we sort of expect Virtus Pro to win these kind of maps, but also have some moments that leave you scratching your head that you're like, huh? You're going to do this now? The Virtus Pro at the moment don't look as clean as they probably should do, considering they are the favorites to qualify for Atlanta behind Na'Vi. That's the thing, that's the dissonance for me, right, with this team of like, if people expect a lot from Virtus Pro, but I'm not seeing it in the server. There's too many moments that look a little bit dicey, but here it's just that OG Seed aren't good enough of a team, or experienced enough as a team, should I say, to really punish the likes of VP.
And VP, they do something that so few teams actually have the guts to do, and that is take fights a person down. It is so rare that you see that, but Virtus Pro, they are one of the few teams that know how to juggle numbers versus ultimates, and knowing what your opponent has and when it's the time to pull the trigger. You can be down in Emma, but Emma is going to have a pretty solid impact on a fight, but if you can take the enemy team out first with an early pull in with a Galactic Legend, then you're immediately going to even up those numbers, and you're taking a 5v5. It is a play that Virtus Pro are one of the few teams who are brave enough to do.
Yeah, and certainly like beforehand when we saw this team play in previous tournaments, they were dominantly ahead for the majority of the rest of the, EMEA teams, right? So in that instance, now that disparity is just not there. The top 6, top 8 teams of the region can still scare Virtus Pro in these instances, as we're seeing there with like OG Seed, but it's like, I want to see a little bit more from them, like to go into these other game modes, which we expect a lot more from VP because they are just so good at playing around objectives and payloads outside of King of the Hill. I want to see them sort of really take the bull by the reins here, because if they go and win this series, they've got Chopped. And Chopped are going to punish games like that, certainly on domination. I think it needs to look a little bit better there from VP because it was a bit scrappy.
It's an excellent point. Scrappy is the word for it. And that is the opening, not just for Chopped potentially later, but for OG Seed now. They might be able to start to bring it back. There are some maps statistically where Virtus Pro have performed a little bit worse on, and I'll tell you about them after this break.
Crush! Priceless! Feel peasants!
Shining on those memories, and yes, across all time I see you turning the
Domination game mode goes towards Virtus Pro, at least for the time being, as we might see it resurface a little bit more in this best of 5. And they're sort of leading the line so far, 1-0 up Tetra. But I think one of the main things here that you sort of looked into a little bit more is how do you solve a problem like Virtus Pro? Certainly with the Ignite draft system, what kind of characters are you looking to take out?
We have seen so many people talk about how Virtus Pro seems to have a little bit more trouble in this draft system. We're not seeing that as much because they're here, but if you have a look at the most common, the heroes banned against them that have the best win rate, only one is even close to 50%, and that's Doctor Strange. These are the heroes that when they're banned against Virtus Pro, how often they win. Everything's below 50% except for Strange. Emma is banned against them a couple times, 42%, same with Invis, 33% win rate for Adam and Ultron when they're taken away from Virtus Pro. But the fact is, OG Seed, they don't ban these heroes very often, with the exception of Adam and Ultron. So the big characters who have shown to be maybe at least a weakness of Virtus.pro just due to how strong they are as a team, they're not really touched in the ban phase often by OG Seed.
So is that the win rate of Virtus.pro? So their win rate is
that is the amount of times people have banned those characters and then won. So, for example, if they banned Emma and won, that would have counted in the percentage. So only teams that have banned Emma and then won is 43% of the win rate, basically. So,
right. So
yeah,
it sort of feels like going for those characters that OGC tend to ban for isn't going to provide much dividends against Virtus.pro, mostly because they don't really want to play triple strategist. I think that's always the vibe I get from this team. They will try and play 2-2-2 as much as possible. They can, and certainly if we go to a convoy game mode, which isn't this one, I was hoping it would be because I'd look really good swinging into this one smoothly. They can play the triple strategist, triple vanguard that you'd see on convoy.
So far in Stage 2, Virtus.pro have not played this map yet, but obviously it is a familiar one for them as it's been in here since the game's start. This is, however, a map that OG Seed have played on. It is their only, one of their only 1 and 0 maps, along with Yggdrasil Path.
The draft is looking at least a little bit different in the Mantis first ban. It's the first game that we've casted today so far. Tetcher that has had a different first ban. Outside of that first one, it's usually been just Jeff all the way through. Now, Mantis is back in stock, but Mantis isn't going to be available for both sides. It does potentially allow a one-sided Jeff for Virtus.pro, but again, they don't really care about the triple strategist as much as getting a strong strategist in the likes of Luna.
In Virtus.pro, they do play Jeff. It has shown up a couple times. They have so far played it 7 of their 15 games and done pretty well with it, as they have with most heroes, because they have a positive win rate on basically every hero at this point. But yeah, they don't prioritize it. If we look at their protects, it's their tied second highest, but that's way behind characters like, for example, Ultron.
Double Adam ban means that there is still a protect for one-sided Jeff if Virtus.pro want it, but again, I don't think they'll care too much. I think they'll be quite happy to actually have the Jeff ban be used up at the end here from OG Seed so that they can potentially get a one-sided Luna at the same time.
Let's have a look. Final OG Seed ban. With Ultron on the board, like you said, they could take out the Jeff to try and remove any chance of a triple strategist from Virtus.pro if that's the direction they want to go. Or again, they could go into one of those higher win rate options. They're going to take out the Emma Frost. This statistically is more successful against Virtus.pro, and they're going to force a one-sided one.
They saw like 3-minute delay between us and saw it, and was like, yeah, go for it. Actually, that's pretty good. We'll use that against them. But I guess it's like, the one thing about this as well is like the sample size of just all of the data, even for like general picks of the region, is still quite small because there's only like 16 teams playing. I think, how many games so far we've seen in EMEA Ignite? I can actually tell you that. 80.
Wow.
On our like 85th, I think, something like that. So, 160 picks available for each of the characters in a draft. Seeing it a little bit more focused, it's pretty much the same standard stuff from Virtus.pro. But they don't. Is a one-sided Jeff actually available on the side for OG Seed if they want it?
If they want to go that route. No, I think it's one-sided for Virtus.pro.
For Virtus.pro, sorry. Yeah.
And again, they have played it. They're 6-1 with it. They've been pretty happy to bring that out from time to time. Virtus.pro's most played hero, as we've already mentioned, has been Venom, but a little bit behind that is going to be heroes like Luna Snow, the classic healing lineup as well, Invisible Woman, but then you start to see Jean Grey and Jeff start to creep in there.
This is a map that OG Seed have brought us to for the first time, I think. It's the only few times that we've seen them actually play on this Convergence game mode. They've played Symbiotic Service once and won once.
Virtus.pro, on the other hand, haven't played this season yet, but obviously previously they have played it a lot.
And they're undefeated as well on Convergence game modes, but like you said, on Jalia, on Central Park, not on this map. So Chopped are going to be happy watching this back, potentially, being like, if Virtus.pro do make it up into losers bracket, get to see a little bit more about how these teams want to play on the maps that we've not seen so far.
OG Seed industry plant from Chopped to just show as many maps that Virtus.pro haven't played as possible. What was that, Sparker?
clean combination is going to require OGC to completely reset, but now they're in no man's land. It means that they're feast for the crows. As Virtus Pro are pretty succinctly farming up these ultimates. It wasn't even really a fight there. You can't even count that as an engagement because OGC got picked off just beforehand.
About as much of a fight as a fisherman and a fish, but in this case, an incredible setup. Virtus Pro holding the defense, sticking with their classic 2-2-2, no jet needed or anything like that. OGC tried to match them, but they are back on that storm.
Barker looking to see if he can make it 2 for 2. Can't stop winning with the bandit arm, I suppose, to try and see what he can grab onto. OGC, they're starting to try and scale their way up towards the actual objective. The problem is that Virtus Pro, we saw a lot of this map in MRC. The positioning on this point is very hard to break when you have these strategies set up to support each other. And again, it's just that one ultimate dedicated into this fight that allows OGC to be sent scarpering.
Another hold. Virtus Pro continuing to chase them all the way back this time, catching Frost Mountain with the Groot Wall to prevent them from descending to enter in that doorway. Beautiful pickup.
Now, a reset again. Half the time's pretty much gone, Tetcher, and it feels like we've not really seen OGC be able to do much because Virtus Pro have frankly not allowed them to.
This is already OGC starting to burn through over half their time here as it starts to tick on down. Straggling Prison gonna come out. Invisible Boundary drops next to it. So I don't really know if that was needed from Virtus Pro, but hey, the result is effective.
Star power.
It's still like efficient money-wise as well. Just 2 ultimates, combo them together. Hunky-dory. Sparker doesn't need the Kraken's impact just yet. This just feels like a completely different pace that we've seen so far. This is OGC choosing this map, and Virtus Pro being like, yeah, go on then, give it a try. Stop trying to hit me and hit me is what it feels like.
Right now, OGC, they have all the tools. They have Straggling Prison and Mega Hurricane and Kraken Impact, but they need to get into a point and look at Virtus Pro. They're on the point, immediately spread out. Don't set yourself up for a Straggling Prison. Kraken Impact, though. Sparker takes out Gator. No Straggling Prison to come in because there's no one to cast it. Chasing them back to spawn. Again?
And now it's just 1 minute. Again. And what? That's like off the back of one ultimate that time? Just, I think it was the pull that brought Gainer out of position and then just a Kraken's impact.
They're forced.
This feels brutal.
Portal coming on out because what's left? Abu gonna
what
be
else can you do?
Set up here. They're gonna try and portal nice and high up. Lovely Guardian Shield to prevent any stuns from coming out and prevent anything from really trying to counter them. Making their way onto the point. Ends up Inferno though, taking out Frost Mountain right off the back before the Omega Hurricane can come on out. Media M sent into the backline. They are holding another Straggling Prison. Going to be coming out from Gainer this time though, and that is going to be KQ with the first. That will be a reset, meaning they can try and keep this going. Omega Hurricane bringing them back to the fight, trying to damage them through that invisible boundary, going to push through this end fight. Omega Hurricane, backline damage, but Frostbound can't find anything and can't see Saipe keeping the team topped up. Aya Nakamoto, last ditch effort from OG Seed, but they cannot find the finishing blows. Finally Saipe falls, finally Sparker falls. OG Seed, have they created an opening?
It's still just enough plays from Virtus Pro to keep this one stalling, and the wick is starting to burn a little bit in OT. This isn't OGC playing for a draw, though. They managed to get 35% onto the point, and now it's encroaching up towards 50. So Virtus Pro happy to give up some of this space to go for a recontest here, even off the back of a portal, which we're just pretty much right by the point, too. So now it's a case of holding on for OGC if they can actually take this point first, but no, they forced to back out pretty much completely off the back of that Ensom Inferno.
It's going to be a reset, but Sparker goes down, so they won't get it in time. We're starting to see a lot of the bodies from Virtus Pro getting cleaned up, and OG Seed grab point number 1. They finally forced the issue. The single strategist portal, as Saipe was the one who swapped over to the Doctor Strange. Dritro was unable to sustain the team through all that DPS. They have broken the seal, and they are starting to make their way underground.
It was finally, really, but like OG Seed, I guess, because all those fights that they lost leading up to that final one were so one-sided, they didn't have a chance to use any of those ultimates, so they can bank up quite a few. But finally able to get stuff moving. They weren't playing for a draw, now they got the payload to move on. But moving it past this point, when Virtus.pro taking the fight cleanly, the Feast of the Abyss, really the only thing that was dedicated to go for this engagement, means that OG Seed are 2 players down. They've lost the third with KQ and Gainer are going to follow shortly afterwards. And now it's only 90 seconds on the clock, Tetcher, for OGC to push this as far as it'll go.
But in order to get to the point, they have to leave spawn, and Virtus.pro aren't going to make that easy. Sieging in, sending in Sonic Vortexes, just literally delaying them at every possible angle. We're seeing a bit of a counter delay attempted as Frostbound is trying to poke from up high, but now the entire team is once again grouped up and are taking the AoE damage from Fi, who spots them on that high ground rotation.
KQ, the Kraken's impact, I mean, his impact on the Winter Soldier was a major one, but every time I sort of feel like we're leading up to the seed sprouting and leaning towards the sun a bit more to grow, OGC just plucked out of the ground, nipped in the bud from the side of Virtus.pro without too much of a dedication yet again. They're so, like, ultimate efficient. They're just the economy of these guys, frugal as you'd expect.
Like a hurricane from Frost Mountain. This isn't even really an engage, it's a distraction. They're going to massively disengage the second they cast this, getting caught out, trying to push on through. They find no pickup, but they've made space, and that's the main plan here. Invisible Boundary comes on out, Gainer, ultimate interrupted, put on the half cooldown, Kraken impact to try and trade out both Sparker and KQ. Neither one finds the reset. Vinci going to try and make one happen with a long range ball, finds nothing. Sparker pulling on in with as much damage as they can maintain the voltage. Gets counter-pulled! KQ looking for the opening, facing the Abyss onto the backline. It's KQ taken down with lapses from Vi.
Vi's finding so much as well because everybody from OG Seed is grouped up together, so the sort of cleave explosion damage that's happening off the left click has just been so irritating for OG Seed to deal with. But it's looking like 75 meters past that first point is where the payload is going to stop on the side of OG Seed. Virtus.pro maybe wanted to full hold it considering how the first 3.5 minutes went of that defense, but I think they're going to be happy that it's not going to travel too far after.
Now, how well can OG Seed lock down the point? Virtus.pro doing what they've actually done a couple times now, looking at the Thor. Speed and aggression. Displace, destroy, and just do as much damage as you can, the 3Ds. With Virtus.pro using the Jeff for a little bit of speed boost as well to get to the point fast. This could be a very aggressive setup. And OG Seed, they're not playing especially defensively here. They're just picking the same stuff again.
Did we see much of the Ultron at all from OG Seed? I mean, I don't remember much. I remember Frost Mountain not being on the Storm initially. Is it banned on both sides?
No, Virtus.pro have the option to play it.
No, I meant for OG Seed, like they protected it and banned it against them. Like they had the...
Oh, you're right, sorry, yeah. So, yeah, it's available, they just didn't play it.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, they like the
I guess maybe they were going for that, you know, first point Storm, trying to break for any stuff, and we just never really got to see past that one. Dreedra over to Mr. Fantastic.
Yeah, nah. I wish.
He has got the Lord on it.
He does. Also has the first step skin. I mean, he's coming out the door. Maybe it's just to shield up.
I think it is just to shield and protect the Strange whilst he goes for a portal play.
There we go. Back to Luna. Our dreams.
That's about as much Mr. Fantastic as we're going to see.
Hey. That is impact. They gave bonus health and got at least stepped out the spawn door for a moment. Portal into the backline. Virtus.pro going to try and create themselves an opening here, not going for that hyper-aggressive rollout with the Thor and the Jeff, just sticking with the standard 2-2-2 here as they move slowly forward onto the point.
Really is just Virtus.pro already finding their footing, and because of this, like, we're going to be right in your face approach from Virtus.pro. It means if I could just basically sit on a little bit of high ground and just have the suppressive fire coming in for free. Spark is just boots on the ground, fighting in style, very low accurate for what you'd expect to see from Bucky. And 5.5 minutes to move it 70 meters, 65 meters, 60 meters. You could already see just how quickly Virtus Pro are making traction.
Also, there's no portal available because Gainer swapped over to Strange and would have definitely been in the midst of casting that. Just couldn't reach the point, which is why we saw Frost Mountain rush in on that Phoenix to try and delay in time. So no portal means no reinforcements, meaning this is kind of all or nothing for OGC now. If they do not take out Virtus Pro and hold this point right here, right now, then that's it. It's done. And they are defending this extremely far back. The essence is coming. Guys, Boohoo's going to make their way onto the point to try and buy as much time as possible. Gainer's dropped low, visible boundary forced onto the point. Sidebay gonna be matching it in exchange. Ensong Inferno, OG Seed, burning everything but Fi, matching to try and trade it through. Vinci into the backline, onto the last remaining defender on the point. A Boohoo is down. The card will move the second these strategists are taken down because now it's just the squishies and they're outnumbered. The sparks are spreading. The cosmic flames are burst and Virtus Pro take map number 2.
You know when I said on Domination I wanted to see a little bit more from Virtus Pro? That was kind of what I had in mind. Yeah, that will certainly do it. OG Seed just not finding fertile ground at all on Clintar means that Virtus Pro go 2-0 up in this best of 5. One more, and it's a qualifying game for Atlanta against Shocked.
OG Seed, they saw FaZe earlier on today, were able to take a map back and begin what could have been the beginning of a comeback. They've watched Virtus Pro against FaZe, ironically, pull off an incredible reverse sweep pretty recently. They know it's possible, but quite frankly, Virtus Pro are looking extremely strong right now. They're playing their own meta, their own classic 2-2-2, ignoring the triple strats as they're being banned out so often, and they're exactly where they enjoy being. This old style of draft that is just something that they have been playing for so long. You're not going to beat them on that.
They know where their bread is buttered. That's the main thing about this team. And I said before, like, Fi was pretty uncontested with the damage that he was putting out, which then seeing that he didn't die once at all during that map says a lot. Fi was just... The rest of Virtus Pro was so annoying and in the face of OG Seed that the Phoenix was just able to just keep throwing out just this trash damage, and it's so irritating to deal with. OGC didn't really have an answer, and their pivot to sort of play around the Ultron, we were intrigued by it, but we just never really saw it come into play, despite the fact that they chose this map of Symbiotic Surface.
Pretty much. The Ultron was available and then just not played at all. They just prioritized. Again, there are certain points at like point number 3 where it gets value, but if you're drafting for point number 3 on a map like Symbiotic Surface,
against Virtus Pro, yeah.
That is brave. Brave and brazen? Brazen, that's the word. And in this case, it did not pay off, meaning we are down to one last map pick for OG Seed. If we look at statistics, statistically, this should be Araco. That is the only option where Virtus Pro have not had a lot of success yet, but the question is, do they know that? We'll find out after we head to this quick break.
Well, hello once again, Rivals. My name is Diatonic, and I've got your after-action report for the second week of the Marble Rivals Ignite Asia Group Stage. Zero Tenacity were back in action to kick things off for Week 2, taking on Down Payment in the opening match. Z10 looked clean on map 1, but Down Payment would claw their way to a reverse sweep, defeating Z10 2-1. Incipients were still on the hunt for their first group stage win as they took on U-Inks next, and they'd get themselves on the board with a big 2-0 win here. Rounding out this first day of Week 2 was yet another marquee matchup, the fated rematch between Stage 1 champs Reject and the newly rebuilt Gen G. Though the players have changed, the story was yet again one of triumph for Reject as they take the series in a close 2-1 showdown. The second day of Week 2 started off with a match between veteran team Assemble Fire, who are still in search of their first group stage win, against Incipients. But Incipients had picked up some steam here in Week 2 as they won their second game of the week in a close 2-1 bout. Down Payment also continued their winning streak, taking their third win in a row over Rocket University in a big 2-0 sweep. Onside Gaming looked to keep their dominance alive in the next match as well, taking on U-Inks and walking away with a clean 2-0. And in the final Day 2 matchup, Zero Tenacity went head-to-head with the Vietnamese squad OEG. It was a tough draw for OEG, and they'd fall victim to Z10 2-0. Day 3 kicked off with a showdown between frontrunner team Crazy Raccoon and Onside Gaming, with CR continuing their flawless group stage campaign with yet another 2-0 win. We had a heavy hitter matchup between Gen G and Zero Tenacity next, one that Gen G would walk away the victors from with a a complete 2-0 shutout. XOXO01 and Incipients stepped onto the field next, and XO would lock in their playoff position here with a big win over Incipients. We ended the day on a very interesting matchup between Reject and Rocket University, with Rocket actually managing to take a map off Reject. But the only 3-map series of the day would go Reject's way in the end. The final day of the Asia Group stage began with 2 Legacy Ignite competitors, XOXO01 and Assemble Fire, a matchup that XO would win handily 2-0. Reject were back up against Down Payment, and the Stage 1 champs would emerge victorious here, also 2-0. Crazy Raccoon had their last match against U-Inks and would complete a perfect run through the group stage with yet another 2-0 win. And finally, the group stage would close with Gen G taking on OEG, with Gen G picking up the last win of the week. And after 2 weeks of group stage action, the Asia playoff picture was locked in. From Group A, Crazy Raccoon, XOXO01, Onside Gaming, and Incipients advanced to the playoffs. And from Group B, Reject, Gen G, Down Payment, and Zero Tenacity all make it through. The competition in the Asia region is looking hotter than ever, with only the top 2 teams qualifying for the Grand Finals LAN tournament later this year. Well, that's all for now, Rivals. I hope you caught your breath because we're about to dive right back in. Get ready to ignite the battle.
We are back, and it's convoy time. We have done our convergence, we have done our domination. And when we look at the statistics, this is the fact that Virtus.pro have yet to win this stage on Araco. It's just when you look at the teams they played on Araco, you start to see why. Whereas OG Seed, for their own, if they did want to lead something that they're more comfortable with, as opposed to what their opponents aren't comfortable with, then actually, they've been doing pretty well on Yggdrasil Path so far. They are 1-0 on that.
I haven't really played it a huge amount, but I guess it's more of a case that like Virtus Pro series tend to be very just short, full stop. It was only like, even like the Navi win. But I guess it's also a case of like the Araco 0-2 loss streak that Virtus Pro are now on. They picked it twice, so it was sort of on them. But actual choices for OG Seed for Convoy, the 3 times that they've had a chance to pick something, they've always picked Midtown, and they've won it once, lost it twice. So it's not the best results that they've had on it. It is just like they played up against Insomnia. We saw Insomnia sort of deal with that to qualify for playoffs a couple of weeks ago now at this race, quite a while ago. Yeah. But now for Virtus Pro, you're sort of comfortable on whatever you get thrown on. The only one that we haven't seen them play is Spider Islands, but it feels like not a lot of people want to touch that with a barge pole.
This does mean, though, that in theory, OG Seed are actually 2-2 when it comes to the convoy maps, with 1 win on Midtown, 1 win on Yggdrasil, and then 2 losses on Midtown. So they are even. The question is, will they now go positive or negative? And they are taking us to Midtown. They're about to be 1-3 or 2-2.
Oh, I thought you were just going to fight the 1-3. They're done and dusted. I was like, well, you can't just say that. You can't just be like, no, it's done.
No,
but it's
like that.
It's clearly a map that they want to sort of play around. And we have seen turbulent moments from Virtus Pro on this map in some of the bigger games, certainly the bigger best of 5s. It's just that it hasn't been an issue for them at all this stage.
Yeah, they have so far not really had much trouble, to be fair, in most situations. So we're starting to see how early protect on Invisible Woman. Again, Virtus Pro. they have been usually the ones who've been really hyper-fixated on triple strategies. This time, OG Seed and Virtus.pro will both be going for the early Invisible Woman.
I wonder if this is like a meta pivot that we're seeing from teams, but it also could be OG Seed going, look, we didn't use the Ultron there once. Can we go for something that can be used as triple strategist, but also work as double? Because we need to match what Virtus.pro are doing if they're trying to run 2-2-2.
Virtus.pro, before this series, they had played Invisible Woman 8 times, which is their tied third most played character, so it's pretty unsurprising that they see it coming in. But OG Seed, they played it 6 times, but it's quite a bit lower down in their pick. No, it's actually tied third as well. Cloak and Dagger and Storm actually sit ahead.
I think also for picks, Virtus.pro have been pretty happy to go and pick the likes of Ultron quite a lot, but they haven't really wanted to bother with it so far this time. They wanted to go for some, like, probably again because they want to just make sure that they can play double strategists and have that backline be as strong as possible. Because if you try to play triple strategist and you have certain stuff banned out, you're sort of relying on the stars aligning on what characters you want to play, and then having a duelist that can synergize with that. I feel like what Virtus.pro are doing with the meta is probably a good way to approach triple strategist and going, if we are forced off of it, we can still run with just 2.
OG, they ban out Jean Grey. You know what? I really like this. This is a character who can do a lot of work alongside stuff like the Moon Knight, for example, when it comes to, or the Punisher even, for breaking spawn holds, because you often play very grouped up. Also, the fact that Virtus.pro have been absolutely insane on Jean Grey. They've played it 8 times and have won 5 out of 5 games, lost 3. With a couple extras, of course, for this series where I haven't been able to update live. But Virtus.pro, they've been really leaning onto the Phoenix Force.
The VP have also been really leaning onto the one-sided Luna.
Very true.
And that always goes a long way. Like, sure, Luna was nerfed and Luna Loki just isn't really a thing anymore. It's not even remotely close to how popular it was in previous stages and previous events. But one-sided Luna is always going to provide good value here. So you have got the group protect on one side, but it's not banned out either. So it is still available in this case. It really does come down to the one-sided Luna and then the one-sided Jean Grey, pretty much on the side of OG Seed.
This is what it comes down to. Can OG Seed break the siege, as Virtus.pro will be starting on defense and make their way into the history books of being, for starters, one of very few teams that have taken a map off of Virtus.pro, but second, one of even fewer teams to take a series. But all of that starts with a single step, and the step will have to be towards the Avengers Tower.
I only just clocked that it was a Fisk Hotel, actually. So we're going from the likes of the Fantastic Four Baxter building over towards Avengers HQ. But it might not get too far out the door with how the teams like to play on this part of the map. Just a very bunkered down forward hold with Sparker and Vera back in hand and fire with a portal play as and when needed. There's not going to be an Adam Warlock available for either team, so it's not going to be too much for the stall for KQ and Frostmount are going for the Moon Knight and the Storm respectively to try to break this deadlock hold.
Really not breaking any new ground here for OG Seed. They love the Storm. They picked out the Moon Knight a couple of times when it comes to getting these spawn breaks, and it's worked out pretty neutrally for them, 1-1. But the fact is, it is very good at this job. They're trying to siege in. For now, though, Gator was taken down thanks to the forced out Invisible Boundary from Cypher.
That's crazy fast, though. An Invisible Boundary before a Fist of Khonshu for KQ. Yeah, Saipei is just using the fact that Virtus.pro are grouped up to farm and cleave as much healing, get the ultimate online. There's even a Yam Amplifier if Virtus.pro want to go aggressive, but frankly, they're so pushed up. There's no more room to go more aggressive. Now in this fight, as OGC get onto the point with their Invisible Boundary, that's when it's going to be used.
Here comes the Cosmic Yarn Amplifier, the CF from Sparker for the damage boost to try and fight onto the point, but Abuhu is trying to push on past it. The group rules are so good though. Nevix, what a group up into the backline, but is there enough follow-up here? No, everyone is completely zoned away. Both Gator and Nevix are doing so much work for their team. Fire gets taken out, being a bit too far forward. You can see KQ was looking for the ultimate there, but it's shut down as they get counter-caught by Fincy with their own Psionic Seduction.
just able to hold the line. This time, though, it isn't just your 2-2-2 setup for Virtus.pro. They do respect that this has to be pretty much triple Vanguard, triple strategist territory. And Sparker's even getting involved with just able to put out some of the damage over onto the Rocket Raccoon. Gainer, though, actually able to catch that fire that was on the Doctor Strange.
Like a hurricane from Frost Mountain, creating a little bit of space, but not able to find anything for a finishing blow. The boundary was once again forced out, meaning that that will be a defensive tool traded, and that could create the opening for KQ, who still held on to this hand of Khonshu, which could be enough to burst on through. There comes the damage boost from Name. We see so much belief from OG Seed onto this Cloak and Dagger, and that Terracate still does the job. Invisible boundary from Lapsis, Frost Mountain will fall, but Virtus.pro, they're losing ground. They have to put another Sonic Seduction. There's a straggling prison with the follow-up. Beautifully done from Nevix and Fincy.
Just feels that any picks that OGC get, like the amount of resources that went into taking down Nevix, like pulling him out of position with Force Physics, putting a wall behind him from Gainer, and then even going for the grab from Abuhu on the Emma Frost. It was just so much to take down one player, and then nothing really followed at all. And that was when an Omega Hurricane was dedicated. It still felt that Virtus.pro are not going to go down silently into the night. And with less than a minute on the clock, OGC, they have plenty of tools to work with, but the priority and focus is going to be key. Gainer is actually the one that uses up the Strangling Prison and then the Fist of Khonshu on top, but an invisible boundary from Saipe keeps everybody going.
They find nothing. That was their break tool. That was the key. And now they're being forced to just brawl. Fi on the backline does get caught out of position while they were trying to flank, meaning that they will be forced to potentially even portal back in if they want to use that Eye of Akamoto, as the point is creeping forward. Fincy on a beautiful flank with the Emma, but it's time to get locked in. Group walls extremely effective. Frost Mountain takes it out, but there it is! The Eye of Akamoto from Fi comes on in, sets them up beautifully, and now they're going to try and portal them in the base.
Even just going to block off the doorways, so it means that no portal play, nobody's even going to be able to come out of the spawn. Abuhu was the last one to be able to potentially touch. Omega Hurricane might have to be the thing, but you can see it just slaloming through even past the group walls to just stall it out and make it a bit of a racetrack. But they've ran out of tarmac, and OGC, they've ran out of space with only 108 meters on the board.
This is huge for Virtus.pro. Rough news for OGC. They did get some distance. They have to lock in now. Every defensive tool they have at their disposal. They have Doctor Strange available. At this point, this is one of the few times that I will recommend to actually not pick Doctor Strange first. Normally, you'd pick it to build some ult charge because you know you're going to portal back anywhere, and usually the teams go down as a group. In this case, Virtus.pro is so good at picking individual people that you should just let whoever gets taken out first play Strange to portal the team back, because this is all hands on deck emergency. If you go down once, you portal back. If you go down twice, you pick whatever's fastest and rush as fast as you can, because time is of the essence.
30 seconds before you attack. Get ready.
There's been a couple of goose eggs on the side of OG Seed with surviving players from Virtus.pro. 0 casualties happening against Sparker and Dreidro in this one. But also, that wasn't really a game of many eliminations. Like, final hits, it doesn't seem to be that many across the board. And I think that's just because Virtus.pro were just happy to stall and put bodies in the way. It's hard to get picks when you're just playing all of the chunky characters with all of the healing going into them.
That's a very good point. The issue with this triple Vanguard, triple strategist setup means we do see very low KD numbers sometimes. Sparker on this Moon Knight, unskinned here. But going to see if they can show up with some flashy plays instead of the flashy skins. Nevix with the damage boost, with the damage help from Sparker, able to pick up KQ, who's immediately brought back with the Battle Rebirth Beacon, trying to make some space, utilizing the team up with Cloak and Dagger to create a little bit of healing area to keep Sparker pushing forward. And OGC, they're losing ground here. There's the hand of Khonshu so quickly. Abuhu falls, Gainer falls, and suddenly OGC, they're being deforested.
It's always riveting gameplay watching Moon Knight just holding left click and spamming it down, but OGC, there's just not enough to keep themselves alive in these engagements. And now what? It was 110 meters on the board. The pole play's going to come out just at 85. And it feels that OGC, if they lose this engagement or even worse, get bullied off of it, they might be watching this payload move straight past them from the portal.
try and hold this with everything they've got. They've got that invisible boundary coming out. They're gonna very soon. They burn the Sire, they burn the Seer and the Eternal Bond at the same time. If Virtus Pro survive this, then they can just counter push in one more time with no defenses left on the board. But it looks like they won't. 2 strategist ultimates. It's just a bit too much to deal with.
But then you've got to hold for 2.5 minutes, and you have got another Fist of Khonshu and a Strangling Prison in itself. Yep. That could be a winning factor here. Abuhu does have an Eye of Agamotto. He is the only one that's going to keep a minute here.
Psionic Vortex to buy a little bit of extra time to slow them down, as Virtus Pro don't even take the long way round. They come through the center building to just make sure they're on that point as quick as possible. Don't give OGC time to set up. Don't give them time to react. I have Agamotto, Strangling Prison to buy time. Both teams currently tagging on through the Fist of Khonshu for the final one, but OGC have scattered. Abuhu, the first one and only one currently to go down, but the rest of OGC are giving it everything they can, but they have to fight on the point, and that's not where you're going to have a good time versus Moon Knight and Karut being taken down one by one, and the hopes of OGC to stay in this upper bracket are melted by Virtus Pro. Khonshu is on their side.
Upper bracket dreams dashed from OG Seed, but they do go down to the losers brackets, play again tomorrow for their lives. The Virtus Pro, they have been on the edge of qualifying for an international event. They find themselves here again. Chopped is their opponent in the best of 5 tomorrow. And this kind of performance is what you kind of want to have before a big game like that. Very swift, straightforward 3-0. A bit rough on that domination map to begin with, but everything else looking terrific from VP.
Incredible performance. Just looking at the statistics alone, Sparker and Dridro still weren't taken out at all that game. Just what an incredible push up here. Nevix, though, on that Groot was the game changer. Their Strangling Prisons were good. The walls were splitting people off so effectively, including when they were on attack. Fincy was getting some masterful flanks. This is vintage Virtus Pro doing exactly what they do best, and that usually starts with the word win.
Yeah, pretty much. For OG Seed, though, looking back at the actual scoreboard, there was only one player I think that had a negative KD. That they went more into eliminations and having casualties. It's just the way that this game Murder Convoy tends to play at the moment, because you can still get those picks and actually not be too much of a detriment with going down. But if Virtus Pro are able to keep stalling and fighting at disadvantage, like you highlighted earlier, Texture, it just doesn't seem to matter. And it's nice at least to go into these kind of games with a couple of question marks on the upper bracket teams, at least on who's going to be making it, who's the favorite and such. But all of them are just in blistering form today. Mostly 3-0s across the board in these best of 5s, other than FaZe taking a map away from Chopped just before this one. Everything else, though, is a clear, distinct top 3 teams, top 4 maybe, away from everybody else. And that's kind of what you want to be seeing if you're going for a qualification game for a grand finals event.
Exactly, and that's what this means. Tomorrow's games, if you make it to the upper bracket finals, the lowest position you can come is 3rd, you are qualified, meaning that 2 of the teams playing tomorrow between Citadel and Na'Vi and Virtus Pro and Chopped are qualified for Atlanta. The last spot will be decided by that lower bracket semi-final to see who makes it into that lower bracket final, which the lower bracket is where all of the teams we saw lose today are heading, and they are now on Last Chance Saloon.
It pretty much is. From 48 hours from now, we'll know what teams that we are sending from our region, as well as probably some of the teams from not quite Americas yet, because they still have a week to play. But we do get to speak to the Moon Knight Extraordinaire that didn't get eliminated once in that final map. We've got to talk to Sparker. First and foremost, that domination, first map for OG Seed, it looked a little bit shaky in places. Was that just how it looked, or is there something with domination with you guys that seems to be a bit not a struggle really, but a game mode that a lot of teams are trying to take you to and fight against you, right?
I think I just played too passively in the first 1 or 2 fights, and it let them play too freely. And then after that, it was a bit easier when I just went in.
So I actually have a question a little bit off from what we've been seeing actually today. This is just something I've been wanting to ask you for a while since we've been in interviews. A lot last stage you were being put onto the Adam Warlock when it came to triple strategist compositions, but since this stage you've mostly moved on to the Rocket and have been playing it like a duelist. What actually came into that swap and why did you play it so aggressively?
Well, I mean, it's just spawn camp comp really. People are confused that I play the Raccoon and like Grid replace the Adam when we do it, but it's just because I just find it fun to play the little Raccoon in spawn camp. I get to take it easy on that map and just shoot some balls on the wall and lean back for a map or two.
Yeah, I mean, it suits you to a T, I think. But because we haven't really got to speak to you too much, I've asked Nevix and Finzi this, but like between stage 1 and now, certainly now that you're like a win away from qualifying for Atlanta, what feels different for you with your own performance, with the team's performance, with some of the issues that you ran into that stopped you from qualifying for the mid-season finals? Like, what to you, on the eve of you potentially qualifying for your first international event, feels different or better?
Well, I think it's just meta understanding, and I think this time we have an easier bracket than last time. Because back in the old meta, I feel like Citadel was our hardest opponent. Like if we got to play Na'Vi back then, we would have probably beat them. But yeah, I mean, we should have beat Citadel anyway. 2 games, 2-3. If we just played a little bit better, we would have qualified. But that's life. I think we have an easier bracket this time.
Speaking of metas, you guys are evolving yours a little bit, where you're moving from the triple strategist, which is what most teams started this stage with, into more consistently running the more traditional style of the 2 Vanguards, 2 Duelists, 2 Strategists. What really brought that change around? Is it just because everything's being banned so often?
I think it just depends on what we ban and the enemy. Sometimes it just leads to like us being more comfortable on 2-2-2 than triple support, because I think we know that we're so good on DPS and like tank and support that it's just comfortable to play 2-2-2 instead of the triple support sometimes, like even if the enemy has triple support.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Sparker, for joining us. We'll let you go rest up and prepare for tomorrow with your team, where you'll be having your second attempt at qualifying for an international event. Best of luck to you.
Thank you.
A determined Sparker preparing for their opportunity to try and qualify for Atlanta. It is in the upper bracket, where they did upper bracket semis, I believe, last time as well, where they were sent down to the lower bracket, if I remember correctly. I'll have to double check that one in a bit. But here, speaking of brackets, are the brackets as they stand up. In the upper bracket, fighting tomorrow for those qualification spots, Citadel versus Na'Vi and Chopped versus Virtus Pro. In the lower bracket, fighting for survival